sleeve rate, and now we are going to discuss about the causes of sleeve rate, or what happens whenever there is a raise in frequency. Input frequency is raised continuously. So what happens during that time, or when till what level the device can uh, compensate, or to what level the device can tune up with respect to the input and output. So that we are going to discuss here. You can still remember in open-ended experiment we were doing in the amplifier open-ended experiment in ED. There we were fixing up the input voltage, but we were keep on varying the frequency. So by just varying the frequency also, we can change the gain. So that is the concept which we have understood there in the open-ended experiment. Same here, in this topic, we are going to discuss to what level the output can be in line with the input, and when does this sleeve rate problem will start occurring. So sleeve rate problem means that is the state where the output is looking entirely different from the input. You are giving input as a square wave, output looks like a triangular wave. So when that state is going to reach, then we are going to tell that there is a sleeve rate problem in this op amp. Okay, so now we are going to discuss what are the causes of the sleeve rate. So in order to discuss the causes of the sleeve rate, let us uh, first know what does an op amp contains. Basically, in our last class only we have discussed the op amp is basically made up of transistors, and in order to filter out the DC signals, all those things. So what we are going to do, we are going to use some capacitors, and also there are different types of capacitors like uh, parasitic capacitor, junction capacitance, and coupling capacitance. See, because of all these capacitors, what happens is these capacitors take some time for charging and discharging, and you cannot avoid these capacitors because the junction capacitance occurs between the layers. Junction capacitance, if you take NPN transistor, you can see that between N and P layer we have one junction. So here there will be one capacitance, or it is going to behave as a capacitor, and here again between P and N there is a junction. Because of that, it will start behaving like a capacitor. So this we have already we have discussed, or you have already learned in basic electronics. Because when you compare this junction junction with respect to a normal capacitor, see, normal capacitor, we consider two metallic plates, one is positive and other one is negative. Between these two we are having a dielectric medium. So we'll compare the same with respect to the NPN layers. See, we are having a P layer. So P layer is what kind of layer? Whether it is having or it is a positive layer or negative layer. P layer is a
Can you repeat, sir?
Negative layer.
Positive, sir.
positive, right? Because it
Positive.
contains majority charge carriers as holes. N layer, it contains majority charge carriers as electrons. We can consider it as a negative layer. So when you compare this with the capacitor, even capacitor has positive plate and a negative plate, and between that we have a dielectric medium. Here also between P and N there is a gap, or which is the junction. This junction will act as dielectric medium. So whenever this P layer and N layer are very close to each other, during that time more current will be flowing through it. Whenever P and N layers are moving away from each other, that is during reverse bias condition, the depletion layer will increase. When the depletion layer is going to increase, during that time, the flow of current will be decreasing. So it is just compared with the capacitor plates, where whenever the capacitor plates are moved closer to each other, during that time, accumulation of the charges over the plates increases. Whenever they move away from each other, during that time, accumulation of the charges decreases. So this capacitive behavior is even observed in PN junction. It is PN junction, as you know that NPN can be replaced by two diodes. So wherever you are having a junction, capacitor will be present. This is the proof for that. Okay. So from this, what we understand is we cannot avoid this capacitive behavior of the transistor. So obviously, when you are having this capacitive behavior, it takes some time to charge and discharge. Because of that only, there is delay between the output and the input. And because of this charging and discharging of these capacitors, the signals cannot update itself with respect to the input suddenly. It needs some time. Okay. So let us analyze it. So for this, we will take an example of a voltage follower. May I know what is a voltage follower? What is the specialty of voltage follower? Anybody? What is the specialty of voltage follower?
Sir, it is also an op-amp whose gain is 1, sir.
Gain is 1. Good. Then
So whatever input is given is obtained at the output.
yes. So it is
obviously.
voltage follower. Whatever you give at the input side, the same thing will be coming at the output side. Either it will decrease nor increase. So that is the specialty of the voltage follower. This is usually used wherever you just need to maintain the gain. You don't need to increase. There is no requirement of increasing, but there is a requirement of maintaining the gain which is already there. So during that time, we will be using this follower circuits. So this is the input which we have taken, and so this is one output. So we'll be analyzing this at different levels. I mean different frequency level, but the voltage level is fixed. Only the frequency is changing. Okay. See, this is the input and all these three are the output. Here, in this case, there is slight change in frequency, slight change in time period. So when time period is going to change, obviously frequency is going to change, right? So, but still here you cannot observe the slew rate problem. We call it as slew rate problem is invisible because the frequency is very close to the frequency of the input. So here the slew rate problem is invisible. But you can see here the slew rate problem is just visible. It is just visible. You can just observe the slew rate problem, that is shape of the signal is changed when you compare with this input. The shape of the signal itself is changed, and here it is easily visible. It's completely visible because we have given a square wave and we are getting a triangular wave. So when you compare the input and this output, you can observe there is a slew rate problem. That means the output cannot be in line with the input because of the charging and discharging delays that is given out by the capacitors which are present in the transistors. So this is the, this is the causes and the frequency limitation. Now, till what level you can have a proper output without having any slew rate problem? So approximately you can have till 10 kilohertz, we can get an invisible uh, slew rate. That means till 10 kilohertz frequency of the input, the output will be not changing its shape. But when you are going to increase in the frequency during that time, so the output cannot instantly change with respect to input. So during that time, slowly the slew rate problem starts uh, existing in the output. So we tell that the slew rate problem is just visible. It is not completely it is not completely uh, it is not completely uh, it has changed the shape, but slightly it has changed the shape, so we can observe the slew rate problem. But when you come to this triangular wave, you can easily observe because input was square, output is triangular. The, the voltage can change, but usually will not accept the change in the frequency because even if you take the example of the communication system, if you change the frequency, the message will change. But if you change the amplitude, the message will not change. The strength of the message will increase. I'll repeat it again. Whenever in the communication system, if whenever you are transmitting a signal, if you change the frequency, the actual message itself will get changed. But if you change the amplitude, only the strength of the message will be increased or decreased. But the original message will remain as it is. So mainly the frequency is the one which is going to carry the information. So that's why we tell we are going to use FDMA, TDMA techniques for communication systems, all those things, because frequency is the one which is mainly important for the purpose of transmitting the signal. That's why we tell we need frequency spectrum for transmitting the signal in GSM or LTE, all those things. So they talk about frequency spectrum. They will not talk about the amplitude. Amplitude is fixed, or we can increase that based upon our requirement. But if you change the frequency, the message what we are transmitting, that itself will change. For example, I'm talking at some particular frequency. If this frequency is going to be changed, my voice itself will be different, and even the language what I'm speaking, that will be listened in a different way. So frequency is very very important. So coming to this, how actually this frequency is going to vary. So usually for a small signal of 1 volt, we call it as unity gain bandwidth. It is for MUA741 op amp, it is 1 megahertz. Till 1 megahertz we can try to vary, but still uh, when you start varying for higher frequencies like 1 megahertz, during that time the gain starts decreasing. So the gain start decreasing in terms of 20 decibel slope. So roll-off factor, whatever you find for the frequency response, no? So the same thing we are going to observe here. So for the open loop gain and the frequency for the op amp, it is just going to resemble the frequency response of a low pass filter. So initially it will be 100 decibels. This is the gain and this is the frequency. So 80, 60, 40, 20, like that we are having. So you can observe this is around 1 megahertz. At 1 megahertz, you are getting 20 decibel gain. That means when you keep on increasing the frequency, the gain will be decreasing with respect to the op amp. Practically speaking, it is just going to have 10 hertz as its bandwidth. You were telling no, it was having infinite bandwidth or it is having 1 megahertz bandwidth in the characteristics. But practically speaking, only till 10 hertz we are able to get the maximum gain 100 decibel we are able to get. After that, it start decreasing in terms of 20 dB. So around 100 hertz we will be getting 80 decibels. Then around 1 kilohertz will be getting around 60 dB. So like that, you can observe. So it is going to decrease its gain when you are increasing the frequency. This occurs because of the slave rate problem. The output cannot follow the input because of the raise in frequency. So in order to overcome this problem, we are going to add a negative feedback and we are going to compensate it. So that is one of the additional reason why we go for the negative feedback, and we are going to tune the RF feedback resistance. So this is about the frequency limitations and the causes of sleeve rate. Next, we have one derivation for CMRR, common mode rejection ratio. So in the common mode rejection ratio, we are going to consider the two transistors as we have observed it in differential op amp. So we have considered two transistors similar to the ideal transistor, whatever we have taken. So that was the simplified ideal diagram which we had discussed. This is the actual circuit what we will be having in the op amp. So here we have taken three transistors actually. So the first two transistors are the differential, the op amp, the major part of the differential op amp, where they are going to take the two inputs and they are going to take the difference of that and they are going to provide the additional gain. Here you can observe that this is dual input unbalanced output because the output is taken from the Q2 and it is fed as input to the Q3, and this Q3 is going to process that signal and it is going to give the output here. So this is our differential circuit. So it is going to take the input between these two and it is going to give. here you can observe one thing, both the transistors are given with a common input. Whenever both of them are given with a common input, during that time, actually, if input is common, so during that time, the output should be 0. But there is some presence of common mode noise, that is unwanted signal. When you are giving a common input to both the terminals, obviously a common noise will also be added to both the terminal. I'll repeat it again. When you are giving a common input to both the signals, then you are adding, or you are also adding a common noise to both the signals, because this input whatever you are giving here, it is taken from same power supply. So when the power supply is having that noise, obviously both the transistor will be having that noise. So the common mode gain ACM is given as V0 CM by VI CM. The common mode gain is given as common mode output voltage divided by common mode input voltage, because when you are giving a common noise, obviously that will be your common mode input signal, and because of that common mode input signal, you will be getting common mode output signal. So the ratio of these two will give you common mode gain. This common mode or the open loop gain, the open loop gain is sometimes represented as M. Okay, the open loop gain is represented as M, and even we can take it as AD also. So CMRR will be given as M by ACM. So we were telling it is the ratio of CMRR is the ratio of the differential gain to common mode gain. So in some problems and even in the derivations, because in the exam they'll directly ask you prove that V0 CM is equal to VI CM by CMRR into AV. So during that time, you need to know what is M, and also they can ask you prove that V0 CM is equal to ACM into VI CM into AV by M. So M is the differential gain. So for that purpose, written it as M. So if you want, you can write it as AD also. Fine. Now CMR in terms of decibels, we have written it as 20 log 10 of M by ACM into decibel. So this is the CMRR expressed in terms of decibels. So this common mode signal or the noise whichever we are obtaining because of addition of the common mode signals at the input side, this can be compensated by adding the negative feedback. So how do we do that? So this we can do it by considering a negative feedback where we are going to use some resistors like this R1, R2, and we are going to feed the feedback here. So now here basically later on we'll give the input here. Just for the understanding purpose, I have written only this much. Here the voltage across R2 is V2. This voltage acts as the compensating voltage for the op-amp. Compensating voltage means the voltage, the offset voltage which is obtained because of some noise which is getting added up from the power supply, that needs to be cancelled out. In order to cancel that, we need some extra voltage. That voltage is V2. By using V2, we are going to cancel that offset voltage. As you know, offset voltage is the unwanted voltage which is getting added up at the input signal, and in other meaning, we tell that it is a common mode signal, common mode noise. So in order to cancel that, we are going to use this voltage divider circuit R1 and R2, and we are going to take feedback from this, and whatever the voltage drop we are having across R2, that will be the same voltage across this junction. So that voltage will be acting as the compensating voltage, which is going to cancel the voltages, the unwanted voltage which is getting added up at the input side. So V0 Cm, our original formula, V0 Cm is equal to ACM into VI Cm. So common mode gain into input, common mode input. When you consider with respect to the differential voltage and the common mode output voltage and the gain, open loop gain. So this is given by this formula, Vd is equal to V0 Cm by M. So this is the formula which you are having. You should remember this formula. This is the differential voltage, the common mode output divided by open loop gain. Now we are going to substitute V0 Cm in this equation. So we are going to substitute that Vd is equal to ACM into VICM divided by M. So when you substitute this, we will be getting this equation, and V2 is given as I into R2. I is the current through the R2. Whatever the current which is flowing across R2 is taken as I. And from our current divider rule, similar to the voltage divider rule, we are having current divider rule. From that, we are having V0 Cm divided by R1 plus R2. So this gives the current across whatever the current which is flowing across this circuit R2. Okay. Now, after this, there is just one printing mistake in the book. So in the page number 203, substitute equation 7.17 in 7.16. It is printed as some 1.16 and 1.17. Okay, just change this 7.17 in 7.16. So after substitution, we get V2 is equal to Vd is equal to V0 Cm into R2 by R1 plus R2. So we are just substituting the I value in the V2 is equal to I into R2 equation. So now comparing this V2 equation with respect to the equation Vd, this equation and this equation are compared. So during that time, V0 Cm into R2 by R1 plus R2 is equal to ACM into VI Cm by M. Now we are going to rearrange this equation, and we need an equation with respect to the common mode output voltage. So V0 Cm is equal to ACM into VI of Cm into R1 plus R2 divided by R2 into M. Already we know R1 plus R2 by R2 is the gain. So we consider it as amplifier gain, it is AB. So we just replace this as AB. So we get V0 of Cm is equal to ACM into VI of Cm into AB divided by M. Again, we have CMRR. So according to the CMRR, we know that ACM and M can be combined to get the CMRR equation. So when we consider that, we get VI of CM into A divided by CMRR, because CMRR is given by M, a ratio of M by ACM, so that we are going to substitute. So this is the equation for the common mode voltage with respect to the amplifier gain, input, common mode input, and CMRR. So they'll be asking you find the or derive the relationship between the output common mode output voltage, input common mode input voltage, and CMRR. So till here you need to derive. So rest are all for your subject understanding. So after this we go for the next chapter. We have one more thing, input and output impedance. So that we will do it in the next class.